This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
Blessings to you, my friends, for joining us here on another episode of World Awakenings, a fast track to enlightenment. As we explore the answers to the question, why now more than ever are the people of the world awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening? I'm your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings has been on this mission since 2018, and today's show, episode number 163, continues our seeking and our desire to know. I mean, really know. So with that, let me introduce our guest. William Brown is our guest. Now, William grew up as the only child of a single mother raised in small Wisconsin industrial town on the shores of Lake Michigan. William was not raised with any formal religious instruction, but throughout his childhood, he sensed that there was a greater force providing him comfort, understanding, and protection. And later in life, through his experience of being healed via Reiki energy healing performed by his wife, Allison, he reconnected with a greater force known as the Collective, of which he is now their earthly voice as a trance channel. Now, since then, he has developed a special relationship with the Collective, the team of loving beings that has been with him all of his life, which is very cool. I want to find out more about that. They speak to him, through him, and guide him, allowing him to help others who are on their own path to awakening. And so, with that, William, welcome, along with your facilitator, Allison, right next to you there.
Absolutely.
Hey there, good to be here.
Yeah, that's great. Is that the tree of life behind you there?
It is the tree for the tree house. It is a magical piece. It's all collected driftwood that's been put together magically just for this space. So yeah.
Oh, really? And it came complete with lights. That's great.
Well,
it's great. So, well, I think I mentioned to you before we came on, I like to find out more about my guest, and then we'll bring in your friends. I'm looking forward, like I said, to hearing from the Collective, but let's find out more about you as a person and how it came about that you are now the voice for this Collective. Can you give us an idea of what your earlier days were like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, not raised in the Christian framework. I, as you mentioned, I had this greater sense that there was always something present. I would pray at night, didn't know, just instinctually knew to pray, just to have a conversation with somebody that wasn't present with me. And I did have some out-of-body experiences through my teen years, through meditation, so I had this understanding, but I didn't have a way of really facilitating it. I didn't have a way of expressing it because, well, I'm 17, 18 years old, 16, 17, 18 years old. It's, to bring that up, who knows where I'd be at that point. But it was through meditation that really helped me through my early years in the military. I spent about 30 years in the military in the Coast Guard. And through those stressful moments, I could find that center. I could find that peaceful center. And so, then life happens, fast forward to around 2015 and 16. Allison starts practicing Reiki on me, and that's where it all unlocked. That's where my intuitive nature came back in. Excuse me, my psychic abilities, my mediumship abilities kicked in, and just this profound sense of, I hate to say the word, who I am, but truly that profound sense of who you are at that moment, because I was getting downloads, I was getting information or acknowledgement of my connection to the greater spiritual world, different spiritual beings, not knowing who they were, but just at that moment, just knowing that I was being infused with that information. And some of that information led me to work with the VA and start a volunteer program with the VA to take Reiki into the VA and provide Reiki to veterans. And we still have that as a nonprofit. We provide Reiki services and training to veterans as well as everyone else. But it was around 2018. I guess it was spring of 2018. A mutual friend of ours just was finishing up her training in quantum healing hypnosis technique, Dolores Cannon's QHHT. Well, she has to do a number of free sessions in order to get her first level certificate. And so I signed up for one of those. And it was in that very first session, and I had my list of questions. I was all prepared. In that very first session, that's where the very first being that I'm connected with began to speak, and that was Enoch. So at that point, I had no idea who Enoch was. I didn't understand, but she did. Allison knew, and subsequently, she wanted to come back and explore some more because I was her first trance individual. So over the course of a number of weeks, she would come back and we would practice and practice and practice, which obviously honed her skill, honed my skill. And that's where I was truly introduced to the collective, the formal collective, which is Enoch, Raphael, Archangel Michael, and Source. And so they all comprise a greater whole of energy that I'm connected to. And being induced is one process, and that's an easy enough process to follow, like a guided meditation, and you just feel that presence settle in. But it was nearing the end of 2018, going into 2019, where they really moved me from the table of being induced, having Allison induce me through this process, walking me through this progression, to sitting in a chair as I am now and taking a few deep breaths, deep breathing or breath work, and dropping into trance in that way. And from that point forward, that's the progression. And so now here today, I'll take a moment. I don't do the deep breathing anymore as I once did, but it's just an internal focus, and I feel their presence settle in. They drop in. I basically am put on pause, if you want to put it that way. My consciousness, my being is put on pause, and I'm out. Now, I'm, a somnambulist, which is that I do not remember anything that takes place if it's a 15-minute session, a half-hour session, or a 2-hour session. I have no recollection of what questions were asked, what information was passed, what information came through. Now, that doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that at the moment, I don't remember. Now, in a day or so, if we're having a casual conversation about something that might pertain to what took place, little bits of it will start to fill in. Small pieces will start to fill in. But I won't have a full recall of what was actually said or what was actually presented at that time. So it's very fascinating for me because as many clients as that we've had over the last number of years, and all of the different reactions that I witness, whether it's in person or Zoom or in group settings of post-trance, it can be a bit disconcerting at times because at times everyone's crying and you don't know what you just said, but everything's fine, or everyone's joyful and laughing and giggling, that kind of thing. So it's just an amazing experience for me, and it's I'm so blessed to be able to provide this to the greater whole of humanity. I mean, when you find that calling, when you find that knowing of yourself and you're stepping into that, there's nothing like it in the world. And that's where I feel as if I'm now. I mean, I spent 30 years in the military. I thought that was my calling, not by the long shot. So,
Well, what an amazing journey to get where you're at. And I find it very cool that you're 16, 17 years old and you're meditating. How many teenagers we know even meditate, especially now with all the technology, they've got earbuds in and so.
Right.
Adults do too.
Yeah.
And you know that you mentioned Reiki energy healing. That's great. It sounds like it unleashed a block in you. And I actually did my first QHHT session as the person having it done to a couple months ago. Same scenario. I had an intern do that for me. It was like nothing I've experienced, but I didn't have anybody come through me, but it's really interesting. But we can talk more about that. Now, we're going to bring in the collective in a little bit. One last thing I would like to ask you about this. So the collective of loving beings that surround you and us, I understand that everyone has their own collective. I mean, would it be wrong to say that they are guardian angels or spirit guides?
It's a combination of everything. And from what I've gleaned over the years of bringing through the collective and what the messages they've brought through, and just and I mention this because and Allison, I think you just went through how many pages of information that we've accumulated so far. I mean, since 2018, we've recorded and transcribed every single transmission that's come through. So it's a plethora of information, and occasionally I'll listen to excerpts, but I will not listen to a full session. I have yet to listen to a full session, whether it's information for myself or for somebody else. It's just my process. But what I've heard and what I've heard expressed through Allison is that the collective will say that if you could perceive or see just there in front of you, it's extremely crowded. I mean, the spirits that are around you all the time, you may not sense them, but it's extremely crowded. So you're right. I mean, it could be archangels, it could be angels, it could be guardian angels, it could be galactic beings, it could be any number of energetic beings that you're associated with. It's just finding that energetic pathway of connecting to them. For the longest time, going through this since 2015, I would do guided meditations with groups of people to find your guide. Let's go take a guided meditation to find your guide and go up to this mountain and find your guide. And I've had a number of them where I'm at the point at which you're supposed to turn around and see the guide, see your guide or your spirit guide. And I get ready to do that. And I feel a physical sensation on my shoulder holding me from turning completely around and hearing, not yet. And not that I'm not ready. It's just that there is something to say about that aspect of, okay, now this is what I perceive as my spirit guide. What am I going to do with it? When I know that I have an open frequency to, everything, I don't necessarily need to have one specific or one this. Now, for others, they see them and that's the one that helps them, move forward and guides them and works with them. But for myself, I have yet to actually step in the front of a spirit guide or some other spirit. I just know that they're present with me when I drop into that trance state. So,
well, much of what you said is very comforting. I'm a big student of A Course in Miracles, and A Course states, if you really knew the mighty unseen companions that walk with you, fear would be impossible.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Well, just again to remind the audience, we're speaking with William Brown, the Trance Channel for the Collective, and his wife Allison is sitting there as our facilitator. Now, if you guys are ready, if you would be willing to bring in the Collective right now, and we'll do a little chatting with them.
Yeah, and what I'll say is, for Allison's role in all this all along has been that to hold that container for me, to hold the energy for me. She's the one that will, typically explore with the questions. And even in this case, if there's an answer, there might be more intrigue as well, and she'll dig into it along with you. So however this is going to work out, I'm along for the ride. So
that's very cool. So, all right. So let's meet your friends in Collective.
All right. Whew. So before we begin, I start all my channelings asking everyone to get as relaxed and comfortable as they possibly can. And just take a couple deep cleansing breaths. Nice long inhale through the nose, nice long exhale through the mouth. Just Allow yourself to do that several times. Helps all of our energies get connected together. And as you do, I'm going to go ahead and begin. The collective is here and present.
Thank you so much for your presence. Our friend Carl would like to ask some questions, if we may.
You may.
Collective, what an honor to have you here with us. I'm so grateful. Greeting, friends. And I'm excited to be able to talk to such beautiful knowledge and love. And I do have a few questions, and I appreciate your patience with me. First of all, why did you choose this man to be your voice here on the earth plane?
For it is to have the understanding of a contractual agreement, one that transcends multiple lifetimes. For you see, the first alignment, that being Enoch, this was an earthbound spirit, an earthbound energy, an earthbound human that transcended to be Metatron. This alignment to Enoch was always connected to William's energy, not the physicality. For Enoch and William's energy has transcended the time. They have both been incarnate together. So this is now an appropriate time to rekindle that alignment. For you see, it is this understanding of humanity, this understanding of where humanity is moving, ascending. So Enoch is the first alignment. Then the rest, as the collective is formed, is to have a frequency set that then has a spectrum of connections, each one of them being a specific alignment, but allowing a greater bandwidth, if it were, of connection for all to be heard.
Well, thank you for that. As the collective, I was talking to William and Allison earlier. I understand a collective, you can be considered guardian angels, archangels, maybe even galactic beings. Is that what you are, or is it even important for me to ask that?
For the collective, for William, is that of a combination of archangels, that of a, shall it be said, a past spirit, a transition spirit, that of Enoch, a human that was present here among you, that has then transcended to be Metatron, though the connection is Enoch. And then Source, that is your creator, that is what has brought existence into this universal force. So this is alignment for William is one that is broad. But for others, it may be a galactic being. It may be that of a transitioned loved one. To have a spirit guide isn't a specific entity, but it is a transient place. Dependent upon your placement of your life, dependent on the point and intersection in your life journey, those spirit guides may change. So it may be a galactic being for a period of time. It might be an archangel. It may be an angel. It may be a terrestrial being. It may be a fairy or a sprite, a dragon. It could take any form it wishes. For that is what brings you comfort. For that is what brings you enlightenment. For that is what brings you into alignment with your higher purpose.
Yeah, a lot of that makes complete sense to me, because my understanding, when the teacher comes at the right time to you, will come in a way that you're comfortable with and possibly familiar with so that you're not in fear or afraid.
Precisely. For all things are aligned appropriately. For it is to understand this human experience. For many go through their human experience without the awareness that they themselves have actually orchestrated from the incarnation to the transition. They have no awareness of their own pre-birth plan, their contract for their life. And they just allow themselves to have the human experience. But many, those that understand this contractual alignment, this contractual placement, those are the ones that understand the fluidity in existence of the spiritual, the energetic, and the physical.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I've had many guests on this show that say humanity has come to a huge crossroad, or as one of my recent guests said, humanity has come to the end game. Can you give us more details and new information on this that people need to hear and know about this transition humanity's going through now?
For it has been brought forward through many different channels, many different individuals. For the, if you wish to call it the end game, but what lies out on your horizon is this point of ascension, this departing of the third and fourth dimension into the fifth and sixth dimension. The first wave of this is to take place beginning nearing the end of this calendar year into the next. This is the first stage. But this understanding of what is out there for humanity, why humanity, what has changed with humanity, the intersections. For your timelines have all been synchronized to a point. They've all had a synchronous understanding up to a point. This point being this time frame of the 2020-2021 cycle. For at that point, that is where each, shall it be said, aligned journey, one collective journey, began to fracture into individual timelines. Now, this is why you are beginning to see the disruptions, beginning to see the upheaval, beginning to see the changes in humanity because of the individualized understanding of their own being, not a collective force no longer. But this is necessary. For this individualized understanding of their own life experience, their own journey, their own contract, allows them to come into their own awareness in their own time. Many are beginning to understand there is a higher power, a higher being, a higher essence of themselves. They are still mired in their three-dimensional, fourth-dimensional existence, but they begin to question. They don't understand the synchronicities that are taking place. They don't understand why certain things are taking place there in front of them, but yet they feel disconnected from it. This is exactly what is necessary. This is exactly what has been, shall I say, planned. Do not understand what the humans have taken place during that time frame. That is not what was planned. The plan is to have individualized understandings of self. This is where you once again gain collective consciousness. You see, you have to understand that this unified field of consciousness that is enveloping Mother Earth at this time. It has always been in place, but it has been, at times, a bit dormant. It is amplifying now, and it is because of the changes that are taking place within humanity. It is these changes that are amplifying individual aspects. The individual aspects, as they amplify, they begin to bring their consciousness online. Their consciousness then is aligned to the unified field of consciousness, which then is ultimately affecting the ascension point. These are preparatory steps. So no matter the chaos that takes place in front of your eyes, it is to understand how you as an individual, how you as a human, how you as a divine force in this existence witnesses that. And understand that it is a distraction to keep you from attaining that is your higher essence. So no matter the distractions that are around you, as you begin to see and understand the synchronicities, the changes, the questions, begin to pursue and understand that is who you are. Seek out those individuals that will assist you. Seek out those individuals that will guide you to a greater expansion of your existence.
These distractions you speak of, it would seem that as the light within humanity starts to grow stronger and rises to different ascension levels, that the darkness is getting more anxious about it and growing stronger to counter that so that the light doesn't grow stronger. Is that a good assessment?
From a human standpoint, that is an appropriate assessment, but it is to understand, for you have a great understanding of polarity. This aspect of polarity in your human existence, it is necessary. So yes, if there is more light, if there is a higher vibration, and that is what light is, if there is a higher vibration that is being obtained through the unified field of consciousness, then yes, the equalizing force to that is that you perceive as dark. That is the lower vibrational fields. The lower vibrational fields, you have to understand the balance that must take place in all universal aspects. You cannot have an imbalance. So if you have a high potential of frequency, you also must have a high potential of lower frequency. This is what balances this aspect of this dimension. Now, moving into the higher dimensional realms, it won't be as needed to have that balance because all will be within their consciousness field. But here in this lower density, it is necessary to have an equalization. But understand, the aspect of the lower vibrational fields, this that you perceive as dark, are seeking the higher vibrations to change. They well up. This is what you're experiencing now. They're welling up, just as a wound upon the human body must fester first before it becomes healed. Here too, within the darkness, within the lower frequencies, it must fester first before it is healed. This is where they will find their own enlightenment, their own higher frequency. All the while, those that are already stepped into their highest frequency potential are holding that for themselves, holding it open for all to seek, for all to come alongside. That is the natural balance, the natural order, if it were.
So humanity exists in a dualistic world of polarity, but isn't the goal of ascension to return to source, to pure non-dualism?
This is correct. Once you depart from this third and fourth dimension into that fifth and sixth dimension, you will begin to slip the bounds of the duality. It still will be present, but not in the density as it is here. It will be quite loose, if it were. It will not fully affect the outcomes. It'll be part of your awareness that yes, there still is a bit of duality, but it won't be that affects the outcome. Now, this is why many have perceived this ascension point as that of transitioning into the new world, the new earth. And that exactly is what it will be for those that transition at that moment. For what they will exist in is another dimensional framework, though upon this planet, it will be coinciding with everything else. but they will not be fully aware of what is taking place in the third and fourth dimension because they are fully witnessing the new dimensional plane of fifth and sixth. So it is as if there are dual worlds, third and fourth, fifth and sixth, lower dimension, higher dimension, here on this plane, light, dark, again, polarity, but is the natural order, the natural balance. The further you go up that dimensional framework, that dimensional ladder, you slip the bounds of it completely, entering into that light body, into that energetic body, into that divine body, and ultimately that source experience, that creator experience, that enlightened being experience.
All this talk of darkness and polarity and separation, non-dual or dualistic, that brings me to ask this question: wouldn't that be how humanity describes what the ego is? Is the ego all of that? And what is your definition of the ego?
For the ego is a necessary part of the human experience. For many believe in their own existence here upon the planet now that they must slip the bounds of the ego. For if you are to rid your existence completely of the ego, you would not have a need for this physical body any longer. You would not have a need to be in your experience as a human. For when you draw your contract, when you incarnate into your human form, it is part of the understanding that ego is there. Ego is the necessity, that keeps balance. If you wish to look at it in a micro sense, the ego is the lower energetic field to your higher consciousness. It keeps you in balance. Yes, many struggle with their ego, but ego is necessary in the human form to allow you to experience the human life framework. If you are at a point at which you understand the difference between your ego and your higher self and your divine self, then there's a beautiful relationship that is built between all of it. It isn't that you're keeping it in check. It is that the ego itself is balancing to your energetic potential. It is growing, though it is still the ego and will always be lower than that of your highest potential. It is understanding the ego is necessary to have the human experience. For the human experience, and this you have to understand is the only experience here upon this planet. As you understand it, this is the only experience. Here too, it is the only experience in which an ego, this understanding of consciousness within your own humanness, exists because it is there to challenge you. This human life is here to challenge your divine self. See, not all choose the human experience. Not all divine beings choose the human experience. This is the most difficult experience that any divine being will take upon themselves. This is the purpose, to challenge one's existence through and through. No matter how many lives you may have lived, no matter how many times you've come into the human form, each one is different. Each one is going to challenge you just as such. Each one is going to play a factor in each subsequent life, if you allow it. See, this is an open pathway of understanding. Many shield themselves from it, but many allow it in completely. And this is where you begin to see challenges within the physical lifetime. So it is a quite complex understanding. But yes, the ego itself as a necessity to have the human experience.
Oh, great. Before I was born into this body, I said, hey, dude, send me down to the hardest job possible. Make me a human. And then when I was born, I looked back and said, oh my God, what did I do?
For many upon this planet are precisely looking back upon themselves at this point and understanding themselves as taking on this critical role and asking, when will it be over? When will it be that I have served my time. For you are not here by anyone else's challenge. You are here by your own challenge. So it is to understand that, yes, many say that if you do not fulfill your contract, that you'll come back again. That's a bit of a misunderstanding. Yes, if you do not fulfill everything that you've set out to do upon this contract, for whatever reason that might be, whether it is of your own or someone else's doing, it isn't going to follow you into the next life, but it will be there as part of an option, if you wish to look at it that way, as you sign up for the next contract. And you will not, at that point, remember that you've left it behind. It'll be part of those options. And you tick that option off as, this is something I want to accomplish. So, yes, many go into the next life, and they feel as if they've had this karmic burden tied to them for many lives. Well, in a way you have, because you have signed up for that from lifetime to lifetime, to keep ticking the box of those things that you have left behind in the previous, or made agreements with that you have not fulfilled. And now you feel in this life that it all must be fulfilled. Understanding that all that is within the karmic stream cannot fully be washed aside within one lifetime, nor many lifetimes. That too is a part of the balance of the human existence. Karma itself is one of those aspects of understanding that, again, if not present, then this wasn't the choice of life to choose, because it wouldn't be a struggle. There are many other dimensional places, dimensional existences that one can take on that have no struggle, that have no karma, that have no ego. They also do not have the human form. So it is to understand you are in a very special place. You are an extremely special, divine being. You have done this because you've wished this. You've wanted this because you've wanted the challenge, because it is here for the strongest of all beings.
Well, I've been asking some really big questions. And one last thing, in the grand scheme of things, from all that I have learned during my lifetime, and I seem to understand at the moment, is that the original self was at home with Source in complete eternity and unconditional love, but we fell asleep within a dream and separated ourselves, and that's what's brought us to this experience. Is that in line with the way it is?
For this is a perception. Now you have to understand that once you incarnate in, there are many fragments that are still open. It doesn't matter the individual. So this alignment with Source, and yes, the divine unconditional love that is present, this ultimate love force, that is what Source is the purest love there can be. It isn't that anyone fell asleep. It isn't that anyone was exiled. But it is this understanding that, yes, you are cleaved from that source piece. And it is an understanding that you've agreed to cleave from that source piece. You have chosen to come in to the human form. You've chosen this because you want to represent Source here upon the planet. You want to bring that piece of divinity, that piece of divine, that piece of unconditional love in its purest form here into the human form and express that. But when many will ask themselves, but how do I do that? How do I express that pure, divine, unconditional love to all humanity? It's remembering. It's understanding that of yourself. It's understanding that you have not left Source behind. You are source. You are that divine peace. You are that purest of unconditional love. But how does one reconcile and bring that forward into the world? It has to begin with self. It has to begin with self by witnessing that in self first. You cannot be witness of that to anyone until you understand it within your deepest regions of your physicality and your energetic being. So it will take work. It will take some time to align to that divine peace that is you. It will take looking in through the eyes of your own self. For many believe this is a therapeutic practice of gazing into one's eyes, and it can be if you're looking at it for therapy. But if you're standing there in front of yourself and you're gazing into your own eyes, this is why it is understood the eyes are that window to the soul, because it is. Because you will begin to see the purest divine aspect of self, not the human that stands before them. That divine spark, that divine being, that divine unconditional love of source will be standing there in front of you. It may not take any form at all, but it may be that overwhelming presence of your own unconditional love. Once you understand that in yourself and you envelop that in yourself and you allow that to be who you are, then there are no actions needed. There's nothing that you must do. You do not need to stand on the corner. You do not need to go out into the crowd. You need to be you in all aspects. Understanding that you're emitting that unconditional love in everything that you do, with every breath you take, with every word that you speak. It is always present with you. It has never left you. It is just remembering that it is there.
Well, everything you say gives me a much greater hope for humanity, and if the people watching or listening to this will latch on to the beautiful wisdom and teaching that you are telling us right here, that hope will blossom and save humanity, because I know a lot of people are just worried about the human race itself. We are speaking with the collective, beautiful friends that come through. Our friend William Brown here, his wife Allison is a facilitator next to him. We've been doing some large questions. I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit. There's some specific things, and I picked this up from, I watched and listened to one of your recent YouTube videos that you talked about some very specific things here. And if you don't mind me asking these, just tell me no if you don't want to. But some things like I find really interesting. You can actually teach people to speak light language. And I've had a number of channels through here have done light language. What is light language?
For light language is nothing more than an energetic transmission utilizing the vocal cords of the being, the human that is present. It is this indistinguishable understanding of language, not through your human ears. It is an energetic transmission. For light language itself is the purest source of language. It is that creation tone that has been reverberating from the beginning of time, from the origin of your existence. That frequency, that energetic frequency, that tone has been reverberating through time. It has been growing. It has been expanding. And for those that allow themselves this connection to those transmissions, it will emanate through their vocal cords. They will not have an understanding of what is taking place, but it is an energetic transmission, not something for the human ears to digest and understand. It is that of the deepest soul connection that is possible. So yes, all humans have the potential to do this. All humans are at that frequency point. They always have been, but it is the human. We've discussed the ego here too. The ego will keep that in check. The ego will keep the human from doing its potential, but it is a balance. Again, it is building a relationship with the ego and not casting it aside. When you incorporate the ego into your existence, then all things are possible before you.
I have had guests, like I said, on the show who speak light language. I've heard light language being sung, and the language itself is very melodic too, and easy to listen to. It's not just a language of galactic beings, but of divinity, right?
This is correct. It transcends all beings, all existence. It transcends your humanness. It is that pure source tone that began the creation of this existence. This, if you wish to understand it to the universal aspect, but the origin point of your beginnings began with a tone, with one sound. That vibration began to, just as you have been cleaved from source to become human, those frequencies begin to cleave into many different frequency streams. This begins the coalescing of nothing into something, into existence. This is where existence comes from, a tone, a frequency. Humans themselves are just beginning to understand the potential in frequency, tones, musical tones, and how tones themselves can heal, how tones themselves can emanate in a certain frequency pattern to lighten objects. You have to understand frequency is the least understood of all experiences within the human experience.
Interesting. Wow, beautiful. So the true Big Bang took place as a tone. I love it.
This is correct.
Wow. Wow. Well, again, we're going to let you go in a little bit. I so appreciate you, friends, being here. I do have a couple more specific questions that I took from that video you did earlier. I found this really interesting. You say there are some, there's going to be an energetic opening that will occur in the state of Montana in the United States this year. Can you give us anything about that?
For this is a portal activation and a vortex activation. This is not the only location this is taking place upon your United States, throughout your world. You have to understand that Mother Earth is quite in sync with all of the activities that humans are taking place upon the planet. She understands that there is moments and times and places that need cleansing. For in the past, vortices and portals open and close quite frequently. They're not made aware of other than those individuals that might come upon them or have a sense through intuition, through dream state, through meditation to go seek out a particular vortice or portal. But what is taking place? Just as with as much chaos, as much disruption as there is at this current moment, Mother Earth herself needs to begin to cleanse the frequencies that are here upon the planet. So yes, Montana is one location. In the region of New Jersey is another. Egypt, as you understand, is quite a very energetic center, has always been. There are going to be quite a few, if not hundreds, of vortices that are going to begin to open in Egypt. That entire region, that entire plateau is going to be reactivated in the future. So it is understanding that Mother Earth is orchestrating this along with all humans that have this awareness of their energetic fields. This is to help cleanse latent energy, stagnant energy, the understanding of the lower vibrational fields that many are sensing as a collective are going to be swept up into these vortices. The portals that will be opened here too, energies are going to be emitted. They're going to be there to cleanse. So it isn't just in one specific location. This is taking place across the planet.
I think that I've become somewhat in tune with these portals or vortexes of energy. Just a few days ago, I went to an ancient Indian mound near where I live, and I've been there a few times. And I sit on top of one of the mounds, and I can feel it. I feel it, and I feel so in alignment with it. And that's beautiful to know that that's all over the planet now.
For many of them are being reactivated for just that purpose, to cleanse and heal through Mother Earth. So as you sit upon that yes, as you say, an indigenous mound, you have to understand that it is not by chance the indigenous beings placed that mound there. Many believe they're burial mounds. Yes, they do have a ceremonial purpose, but they too understood the power of Mother Earth, what was open at that moment, that aspect of a serpent, that aspect of an eagle, a bear, a different aspect of energy in each location. Then that is where they settle. That is where they construct a place to surround that portal, that vortice, so that it can be witnessed into the future, so that it can be held there in physicality. Now, vortices and portals, they open and close as necessary. Many do stay open for quite some time. But those that have been dormant, those are the ones that are going to be reactivated. So many individuals are going to sense them as they transverse this planet that you exist on.
Well, we are just about to let the collective go and bring Will back. And one last question, collective, our friends, I would like to ask, do you have one message you'd like to leave all of our viewers and listeners with?
For it is understanding your own journey, no matter what that looks like for yourself. Do not feel the need to compare. Do not feel the need to say that, well, I have not done this work, so I am not worthy. For every being upon this planet is worthy. It is remembering who you are. It is remembering this divine essence that you are. Taking time each day to just thank yourself for being here, because you have chosen this existence. And it is challenging because you are witnessing upheaval and disruptions throughout your planet. But even those that are in the midst of the chaos, they too are beginning to question. They too have a higher essence to themselves. They are portraying their role just as they've planned it. So it isn't to cast aside one or another. It is understanding that all divine beings are purposely placed upon this planet, and they always have been. It is understanding how all are going to be unified in a consciousness field. It is understanding how you yourself are connected to that unified field of consciousness. You may not feel it at the moment, but it begins with remembering. It begins with thinking. It begins with opening yourself with the gratitude of understanding that you are a divine being of unconditional love. And when you settle within that understanding and you understand that you are here purposefully, then this is where the universe begins to open pathways for you, begins to align your contract more appropriately, providing more and more opportunities for you, allowing yourself to stand in your truth and speak it just as it needs to be. So allow yourself time to reflect on self. Do not be distracted what is in front of you, but allow yourself to reflect here within, because this is the most divine space.
Absolutely awesome. Collective, thank you for allowing us to speak with you, the opportunity to to share your unconditional love with the world, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for being here with us.
And as always, the collective is here for your information, knowledge, and love.
Beautiful, Carl. Nice work. Great questions. Welcome back.
Hello.
Well, Will was on vacation there for a little bit.
He was getting younger.
Wow, that was amazing. And I'm really honest. I was asking a lot of big questions, but I want to know. And it's not just me, as we were talking. It's that time for the world to know, to open up. And they answered a lot of beautiful questions and filled a lot of gaps. At least for me, I know. I'm sure a lot of people watching and listening too.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's this journey that I've been on is quite interesting, and you ask questions, and we provide a channeling every month and to the community, and so many other people have questions. They ask all different types of questions, and if they don't ask the questions, Allison accumulates them over a period of time, and hey, let's do a private channeling because I need to explore some things. So it is nice to be the facilitator for that, because I guess if I had to sum it up in a couple of words or maybe a couple of sentences, I can reflect back on my life so far and understand that I've always had that servant's heart, meaning that's why I joined the military. That's why I've always been in roles of providing for others or leadership roles for others, mentorship roles for others. And this is just an amplification of that. And even though I'm not present when it's taking place, I just feel so blessed to be able to turn myself over to that next level of information. So I thank you for asking the tough questions or the difficult questions or the odd questions, maybe, I don't know. But, I thank you for that, because you're right. So many people have questions and they don't have a resource to ask them. So
that's kind of why I started this show. Well, this monthly channeling you do, how can people access that? And where do they find it?
So the quickest way to find that, and we do it the second Thursday of every month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's free to the community. You can join by Zoom or come in person if you're in the Charleston area. But if you go to treehouse-events.com, that's our calendar of events. Go to the second Thursday and you can click the link there and sign up for it.
And I will put that link in the show notes for this so people can find it, also to your website. And your website, william-brown.com, right?
Yeah, william-brown.com, and also palmandlotus.com. That's our combined modalities. That's if you're seeking a channeling of your higher self, or maybe your pet, or maybe even a BQH session, or even you want to talk to your galactic friends, you can find all that information there. So.
Well, this has been so awesome. Thank you, William Brown, Allison.
Thank you.
My pleasure, and it's been a blast talking to you. We overcame a few technical issues earlier, and we survived it. So thank you again. Namaste, my friends.
Thank you,
Carl, for having us. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified Law of Attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.